Alabama upset Houston today on the road in what was really a tale of two halves, where Houston's defense really dominated in the first half. And then in the second half, Alabama's poise in the pick and roll really took over. And so we're going to talk about both of those topics today. And the stars in this game, both Brandon Miller and Marcus Sasser, were kind of shut down. And it looked like that was the scheme for both defenses. Is for Houston, we're not going to let Brandon Miller beat us. And then for Alabama, we're not going to let Marcus Sasser beat us. First, we're going to talk about Houston's defense. Early, aggressive rotations. They're going to cut off passing lanes. They're going to love to play this weak side zone. But Marcus Sasser is going to help down low, and then Brandon Miller, this first possession of the game, or one of the first possessions of the game, where he just gets ripped, and then we're off to the races and score. Houston loves to blitz the ball screen, and against a talented point guard in Javon Quinterly, that sometimes is hard, but their blitz is so quick and their rotations are just precise that it throws off timing. And right here, Clowney is going from setting a ball screen to setting a pin down for Brandon Miller. But because that blitz happens so fast, Quinterly has to pick the ball up before he wants to. And then the action is just off in timing to where Brandon Miller's not around the pin down yet to catch this ball. And Quinterly's put in a tough spot. This happened a lot all game, where Alabama just had a hard time getting the ball in because Houston presses up, and granted, there's not a ton of movement here. But there were a few examples of this. Houston's going to blitz the ball screen again. You're going to see the back line of defense come up to tag Bediako in the roll. Jarris Walker's going to play 2 on the weak side zone. And then from there, any advantage that could have been created out of the pick and roll is no longer. The margin for error against Houston offensively is just so small. Realistically here, this ball needs to be out to Brandon Miller, probably right here, but Mark Sears is pretty short, and so is Javon Quinterly. So seeing over the athletic defenders of Houston is hard, and Houston does a good job weaponizing their length and athleticism with their blitz trap, but realistically, this ball needs to be out maybe a second earlier. Jarris Walker on the weak side goes from tagging Bediako down low, and then this is just too easy to read for him. And then again, off to the races, get to the free throw line. Talk about the rotations here, where they're already creeped up in the pick and roll, ready to blitz. It's almost like a double drag here, and Quinterly comes off, can string it out a little bit, but by the time he gets the ball to Gurley on the wing, Arsenault is there kind of playing too, maybe leaves a little early, thought Jarris Walker was a little closer, but this is the shot you live with when you're Houston, and Alabama was not able to convert on that in the first half. It looked a little bit uncomfortable for them. I thought this possession at the end of the first half was actually pretty cool from Houston, who goes from this aggressive trap to switching. I think it's really fun to watch a team just communicate mid-game. And I think actually Kelvin Sampson had called a timeout, but to get everyone on the same page to change scheme here. And then you got teammate on teammate from high school, Jaden Bradley and Jarris Walker. But Jarris Walker slides and cuts off any advantage that Jaden Bradley would be hoping to get, because Jarris Walker is playing on his toes. He's taking choppy steps, and then he seals off anything there and goes into halftime with a lead. So what could Alabama have done to beat this blitz in the first half? Well, the short roll was really open, and that's the pocket of space that's going to be open, especially when Houston's going to tag low. Right here, Bediako, this pocket of space where Bediako is occupying is going to be open when two go at the ball. So Bediako here could theoretically catch the ball, and ideally you want your big man who is rolling into this short space to be a bit of a decision maker, and Bediako is not necessarily that. And also, again, Mark Sears is just small in general, and Houston's length is pretty intimidating, and so this is a hard pass for him at this point. Nonetheless, that pocket of space in the short roll was really open for Alabama a number of times in the first half, so we're going to go over a few more examples of that. This time they actually get it in the short roll, and it's Noah Gurley, but as you'll see, Noah Gurley is also not really the decision maker you want operating in the short roll, so maybe the personnel isn't necessarily there for them to operate in this short roll, but you see it all the time in the NBA. Big men nowadays, it's such a huge pull factor if you can operate in the short roll and be able to make decisions, attack a closeout, attack from an advantage. And right there, Alabama was struggling with it in the first half. This time it's not a short roll, it's more of a pop. But when Gurley gets it, Nick Pringle's in his space, also at the elbow from the horn set. Houston collapses, and there's really nowhere for him to go. Here, Bediako is not going to short roll. It's that same set we saw earlier, where he's going to go from a screen to a pin down. But the point is, there is this pocket of space here when they send two at the ball. And I would have honestly liked to see Brandon Miller, who is 6'8", 6'9", who was really kind of taken out of the game from an offensive standpoint, be put in some screener actions, see if he could, maybe knock down shots out of the short roll where he was really comfortable in high school, or make decisions for others. He wasn't really in this game offensively because Houston did such a great job on him, but also I think there are real slashing concerns with him, and that's a video for another day, where he's forced into a lot of early pickups and doesn't have a ton of vertical explosiveness to get all the way to the rim. But like I said, that's a video for another day. Here they're actually going to hit Bediako in the short roll, who proves me wrong and makes this great pass to the corner to Sears, leads to an open offensive rebound for Brandon Miller. But then you get into those blow-by tools and the slashing concern again, and also the weaker handle. Again, a video for another day, and the box score will say in this video that Brandon Miller did not have a good game, and I certainly think there was some bad, but I also think he did some good off the ball. Additionally, in the first half, there were some defensive lapses for Alabama, where you're going to see both Jaden Bradley and Quinterly go with the roller there for just a second, and that forces Noah Gurley to step up a little bit further than he would like, and by the time Jaden Bradley corrects, that roll pass is wide open, but Gurley makes a great recovery to mitigate that wrong. And I think he actually had a great game. He had a double-double, was great as a play finisher. Here's another defensive lapse where it's just a bad trap and Marcus Sasser just dances around it. What a highlight from him. Despite all this, I think Alabama did a great job on Marcus Sasser all game long. And yes, it's a clip, from the final minute of the game, but they did not give him very much breathing room. Nimari Burnett uses his length here to get around the screen and then stay attached to Marcus Sasser. And they just made his night really hard and difficult from a scoring perspective, not letting him really touch the ball. And that's really the ultimate sign of respect to an offensive player. It's not fun to play against, and no, I'm not speaking from experience, but Jaden Bradley and Nimari Burnett did a good job staying attached to him, not really letting him get much airspace. You're going to see Jaden Bradley here not bite on anything, move his feet, get up into the space of Marcus Sasser, and on this drive just close any type of space and let his rim protector do the rest of the work. So what changes for Alabama from the first half to the second half? And I think you get a little bit of a hint in the last 5 minutes of the first half, where Jaden Bradley comes into this game and completely changes the dynamic out of the pick and roll. Here you're going to see him look off the defender, be patient here. When the blitz comes, maybe a little early of a pickup, he's going to look off Marcus Sasser in the tag to Bediako and then fire this pass to the corner to Nimari Burnett for 3 points. And that increased poise in the pick and roll was really stemming from Bradley, but you see it also here with Quinterly as this cool inbound set where Bradley's going to sprint up the line after inbounding it to get an empty side pick and roll, and then Quinterly makes a beautiful slot pass, leads to free throws. So the operation of the pick and roll got better and more creative. Here you're going to see Brandon Miller ghost screen just enough to get Jarris Walker a little bit of a step behind, and at 6'9", Brandon Miller can shoot over him. Again, free throws on the way for him. This is a combination of a couple things. First, Brandon Miller's gravity as a shot maker, but also Jaden Bradley's manipulation, again, looking off the defender just enough to use pacing to burst downhill and get to the open dunk. Here's another clip from Bradley late in the first half in the last 5 minutes, where I think Nate Oates really saw something with his poise, pacing. Here he's going to string it out, anticipating the trap. Doesn't happen, so he drops his shoulder low, gets into the chest, and drives, decelerates, and finishes. Here Bradley's going to reject the screen by attacking the high foot of the defender with almost like a push cross, get into the lane. Maybe you make this pass a little sooner, but nonetheless, he's creating an open look for his teammate. Rylan Griffin knocks down the shot, and that shot making came back a little bit for Alabama. Here's another great rep from Jaden Bradley, where he's going to look off the help again in Juwan Roberts by looking right at Brandon Miller. That freezes Roberts just enough to find Clowney, who's patient on this finish. And I alluded to that shot making just coming back a little bit for Alabama, where Mark Sears is going to come off this curl, knock down a three, and Nate Oates loves it. This last clip here is just, I think, really cool, where Brandon Miller gets fouled going to the free throw line, and I think it's really cool to see freshman Jaden Bradley, who got extended minutes in this game and was just phenomenal with his poise, call everyone together, lead the huddle. And this is exactly what you want in your point guard, even from a young guy, to command the floor, lead the guys, bring everyone together. So I thought that was a cool little clip there. So Alabama defeats Houston with some great second half play, especially out of the pick and roll. Credit to Houston, though. What a great first half. Down the stretch, took some questionable shots. Make no mistake about it, Houston is a title contender. I think Alabama could be there as well. And Houston is just a phenomenal team defensively, but Alabama, you got to credit them from what they did in the pick and roll late in the game, Jaden Bradley really stepped up, had a phenomenal game. Let me know anything else you saw from this game. And if I was wrong somewhere, please tell me, because I'm trying to learn a little bit more about the X's and O's in basketball. So I'm by no means claiming to be completely right or professional by any means. So if you saw something that I didn't see, please comment. I would love to hear your input. But nonetheless, thank you so much for the support on this channel in the past few weeks, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying the content, and let me know what else you want to see. Before I go, I want to get back to something that I used to do on the channel, but I guess I just hadn't really thought of it because I hadn't been posting on YouTube very much. But at the end of every video, I want to share a Bible verse. I know it's not for everyone, but to me, I know it as truth, and I feel convicted to share it. I think that if I can do it on my Instagram, I can certainly do it on YouTube. And I believe that I should do everything for the glory of God. I know it's probably not a popular thing to do, and it can ruffle some feathers at times, but to me, like I said, I know it to be truth, and I've staked my life on it. And I feel like I have a responsibility to share God's word and whatever I do. This video's verse is John 5, verse 46. It says, "If you believed Moses, you would believe me, for he wrote about me." I think one of the tipping points that really made me believe in Christianity was when I realized the fluidity between the Old Testament and the New Testament. Before I was really into my faith, I always saw the Old Testament as unnecessary and confusing. While it is certainly still confusing to me at times, the connection from it to the New Testament makes perfect sense. Humans couldn't obey the law of Moses even after God gave them multiple chances. So he sent Jesus to be the law and fulfill the law and live perfectly so that we can enter the kingdom of heaven through him, because we couldn't do it ourselves. The Old Testament just continuously points to Jesus, and it's written before Jesus was sent to the earth. There's over 300 prophecies about Jesus that are fulfilled by Jesus himself from the Old Testament. So to me, what really kind of pushed the scale was figuring out what I believed for myself. And to do that, I looked at a lot of the Old Testament and historically what it says even outside the Bible about Jesus. So thank you for watching this video, and I appreciate if you made it this far and for the support as always. And I'll see you guys in the next one.